live from New York.
Look who's back.
Good to have him back.
It's a show that's back. K-Man's back. Feeling good.
All right.
I'm about 103%.
Really?
Yeah, 3% left over from yesterday.
All right.
I hope it'll last throughout the next 29 hours, and then you're going to be back on the downslope.
No, we're going to win. We're going to win. First things first. Today, averaging 35 points or more in a single postseason minimum 8 games. Jaylen Brunson joining LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Jerry West, Wilt, and Elgin Baylor.
Elgin, who did it twice. Elgin's just
good.
everywhere, man.
Pretty good. Is Brunson the MVP of the playoffs, Nick?
Well, it was kind of rude of Jaylen last night to crash the Reggie Miller party. But he somehow made a game that obviously had no business being about him. It was about a game that took place 30 years ago about him. And he did it in more spectacular fashion than hanging another 40. By being out as long as he was out, to where even though there were not many details explained to us on the broadcast, it seemed like, oh, he's not coming back. Like when you're missing from the bench for a quarter, and then the one reporting we get is it's your foot, that is all the scary signs and scary part of the body to have injured, because it's tiny bones and you don't know. For him to come back out, play the entire second half, for them to fall apart in the moments he was gone, then recapture the lead in the third quarter, 36-18 when he came back, was a great performance. And to me, he has been the MVP of these playoffs, Brew. There are 3 guys to me that you could make the argument for. 2 of them, to their credit, when we show it to you, haven't lost yet. Yeah. And so in Anthony Edwards and SGA. And then Brunson, obviously, his team has lost twice. But he also, I think, has been under the most arduous round 1 circumstances by far of these guys, and has the least other offensive help as far as what the load is. And so when you look at what happens to the Knicks, when he's on the court, they win. You know, that's actually not by a lot, because 34 and 30 and 300
games.
Right. Plus 34 and 340 minutes essentially. But when he's off the court in the equivalent of basically 1 game, they get blown out. You know, and so for those reasons, and then Brew also this number here, what he's done in the fourth quarters of these games is truly historic. This is a Josh special. I didn't know this. Most fourth quarter points per game in the playoffs in the last, 27 years, and that's just because that's as far back as our data can go. You have one of the best Jordan seasons. Kobe, the year they were going for the 4-peat and they lost. Dirk, the year they won the title. And Steph last season, you know what I mean, when they were defending their championship. So for all those reasons, Brew, my answer to that question is yes, he's been the MVP of these playoffs.
He's been phenomenal. And last night, when he first came back at the start of the second half, it looked like for a few, maybe a minute or 2, he was, because he was just running in straight lines. You know, like he didn't have the ball like usual, and he was kind of running in straight lines. And then it was like all of a sudden, I don't know if he was just like, look, if I'm out here, I'm going to have to do my thing. And he was great. That's fine. I mean, you can argue for Jaylen. I would go Anthony Edwards.
It's fair.
Because, number one, he's been far more efficient. And if we look at the numbers here, we'll see. I mean, he's shooting 55% from the floor. Jaylen, 46%. 3-pointers. Jaylen's really not shooting that well, 32%. Anthony is 42%. And then you see steals per game. The PER, Anthony Edwards leads the entire league in PER. And so he's been more efficient. Secondly, he's doing it on both ends. Like, obviously, he is becoming one of the best defenders. You say now, a lot of people now are saying he's the best two-way guard in the league. SGA is the only one you could even argue with. And so he leads the T-Wolves, who have the Defensive Player of the Year. He leads them in defensive win shares during the playoffs. He leads the entire league in win shares, period, during the playoffs. And he's third in steals, as you saw, 1.8. So he's doing it defensively and offensively, and he's doing it against better competition. Look, Jaylen, the Knicks play who they play.
One.
Absolutely. Phoenix was better.
Oh, no, you're right.
He's beaten Kevin Durant, a legend, Devin Booker, a superstar, perennial all-star, whatever you want to call him, not to mention Bradley Beal. And now the defending champions twice on the road. And obviously the Knicks, you got an injury-depleted Philadelphia team, and now a young Pacers team that doesn't really defend. So I don't want to take anything away from Jaylen, because I went in thinking I might say Jaylen, but I would go with Ant.
In my bad, the round one, I was thinking of SGA's round one opponent, which was the Pelicans. No, I agree with you. The Anthony Edwards pass has been harder. Go ahead, Wildes.
I want to speak to how lovable the team is.
Okay, sure.
They have a nice they have a nice combination of, they do the same thing that the Nuggets do, which is lose at halftime, except the opposite because they always win. After trailing at halftime, the Knicks are 5-0 in the postseason, and the rest of the NBA is 12-30. So they have that, like they're always kind of like fighting back and is going to win the game. Also, on the flip side, if they have the lead in the fourth quarter, this is in the regular season and playoffs, Josh, and regular season.
Going into the fourth.
Going into the fourth quarter lead, they can still win. So they really just turn it on in the second half. There's something, this is not the most, and don't get me wrong, I do grind the all 10.
Sure.
But sometimes something just unique comes out of grinding the all 10. It feels like a special team. It feels like there's intangibles about this team
to me,
that go beyond the all 10. If it's Tibbs, if it's Jaylen,
it's just I think they are. I tweeted this last night. I think it speaks to what you're saying. If you are a neutral party for any of these Knicks games, to me, you find yourself rooting.
You do.
Because the combination of, okay, so Josh Hart's just going to play every minute. They don't seem to have as much raw talent as the opposition.
Yes.
And do you agree? You're saying, so you're agreeing with me. And so I know they're the 2 seed, and Jaylen just came in 5th in MVP voting. I'm not acting like they're a team full of Rudies, but they feel like underdoggy the way they play and the way they fight. And he is an underdog.
Just the fact that he's gotten to this point where some are considering him a superstar.
Yes.
He's certainly en route to that.
Yeah.
But he's an underdog. I mean, he's a second-round pick. He's a role player the first 4 years of his career. So, and let me shout out Dante DiVincenzo.
No doubt.
Who was in that clip we showed earlier. I mean, he hit some clutch threes last night, and he's been doing it throughout the playoffs. Obviously, the game-winning shot in Game 1. So I think quickly, and this goes to the lovable thing, I think they're also showing, look, and we've seen it over the years. Guys that play 3 and 4 years, it's not a rule, but a lot of guys that play 3 and 4 years in college come into the league more mature, more experienced. They know how to play the game. And even though they're not as talented as some of the one-and-done guys, they get it done. And Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and Brunson are leading this charge, and all of them played at least 3 years at Villanova.
All right, not to play spoiler here. OG's hamstring, Brunson's foot, Mitchell Robinson. At what point is the pixie dust?
Well, so listen, I think they now have a margin of error where I would be totally fine with Jaylen and OG sitting Game 3. Because you can lose that. You don't have to win that game. And the hamstring is, I don't know enough about feet. I just know that it's that's a scary part of the body for a basketball player. Hamstrings across all sports, it's like if it's lingering all of a sudden, you can be out a month.
Yep.
And we do have to give the Knicks credit in this regard. I think they are now 25-4 when Jaylen and OG play.
It's wild.
And so,
OG is huge.
And 2 of those losses were in round 1 of the playoffs. And so they are they're not just a good story. They are since they've gotten OG by any metric, including record, eye test, all of it, that is an excellent team. Now, will I pick Boston to beat them? Probably.
Yeah, excellent might be attached.
2 seed.
25.
If they're excellent, they got a chance against Boston.
Well, I think they do have a chance.
I mean, more than a chance. It's not. I don't know if anybody other than Knicks fans going to pick them to beat Boston.
Okay, well, we got to see what the health status is. But go ahead, Wildes.
Joker, meanwhile, wins his 3rd MVP. So this is the company that he's in now with 3. Magic Bird, Moses, Joker. He also said he liked it last year. I mean, a little tongue-in-cheek there, bro.
Let that
Doesn't
sink
win
in.
the MVP, but wins the championship. Does winning MVP put more pressure on it?
It has to. I'm going to quote Mike Tomlin. The standard is the standard. It's not unfair. It is actually patronizing to not hold him to the standard. the standard of being an MVP, of being a multi-time MVP, and now being in that hallowed group. Those are 7 of the most legendary legends ever, plus I think the most historically underrated player ever in Moses, and now and Joker, who, because I don't think a lot of people would consider Moses a legend of the legends like Bird, but if Moses was the worst 3-time MVP ever, and so now Joker's a part of it, and he is also already a part of some unfortunate groups when it comes to when you win the MVP, how do you do? If we show you complete list of guys the last 40 years, I guess we don't have full screens. Right. I'll just tell you. My apologies. The complete list of guys the last 40 years to be swept the season they won MVP. Joker already, and Magic in the finals going for a three-peat when he got hurt. Magic got hurt 5 minutes into game 3, got swept. But that's it. You talk about the fewest playoff wins the season you won MVP. It's happened 7 times where guys win 4 or fewer. 2 of them are Joker already, and now this year, if they get swept, it happens again.
Go. No, you're just kicking around like they're going to get swept. It's very rarely that the.
Okay, no,
it's more likely that he does not get swept than he gets swept.
Vegas says it's an exact coin flip.
I don't care. I do not care one iota what Vegas says.
Hold on.
1 iota.
Okay, that's fine. But he's already, maybe you misunderstood what I said at the beginning. He already has been swept.
That was the Jamal
So you are saying the pressure for this year.
Of course.
Okay.
He's the MVP. It's round 2 against a team led by a 22-year-old. Of course. Would there be a lot of pressure in this situation on pick anyone else on that list?
Well, I feel you. But the last 8 MVPs have failed to win the title that year. All right, and 9 of the last 10. The last one to do it was Steph in 2015 to win the MVP and the championship that year. I'm an MVP voter. And MVPs, it's obviously part of your overall greatness, but it's not the end all. Shaq and Kobe have 1 each. They're both, Kobe's definitely in the top 10 all time. Shaq is right there, arguably. Yes. And Steve Nash has 2.
But the fact that he's got 3.
No, my point is that you can't just say because you have certain number of MVPs, you got to do this. Because Steve Nash got 2 and never even played in the finals.
No, I agree. But don't you think that it's fair to say that it's one thing to not win the title. It's another thing to go out in round 2 as the favorite.
I don't really. That's fine. I'm just saying he's already also. Look, Wilt won 2, has what, 5 MVPs?
Yes.
He won 2 championships, 5 years apart. The second one, he was the 4th leading scorer on the team. Yeah. Now, he was still very good with those Lakers, but he was the 4th leading scorer.
That's kind of haunted him.
But my point is that this grouping, he needs to win more championships. But like you said, Moses only has 1.
Yes.
And he went to another finals, but he has his 1 with Dr. J. Moses went to that team. Philadelphia had been to the finals the year before and lost to the Showtime Lakers in 6. And let me throw this at you, a positive for Joker. Because I'm just saying it's balanced out. Joker is the only MVP ever to win a championship without an all-star starting teammate.
Yes.
So that's a positive check
100%.
on him. No one else can say that. LeBron had stacked teams. Yeah. Jordan had other Hall of Fame. Like, they all had much more talent around them than he has. So that's something you got that balances things out.
Go ahead, Wildes.
I'll support you, and I'll ask you this question. If he plays phenomenal next year, better than this year, and you look at by the numbers, probably deserves his 4th MVP, which would be tied with LeBron, but he doesn't get to the finals this year. Are we going to give him a 4th MVP? Like, man, we're giving him 4 MVPs and he's got the finals once and won.
I don't think
it seems like his MVPs are capped after this, unless you have playoff success.
Well, SGA is going to enter next season with a head start on the MVP.
Okay.
Well, just like Joker entered this season with a head start.
I don't know. Anthony Edwards might enter next season with the
well,
biggest head start.
If they win the
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. But Anthony Edwards, SGA, maybe Luka.
He passed.
Jokic would have to be so far out in front of everybody.
But here's the thing. He's not capped because he's at 3.
Yeah, if he wins the championship.
Right. He's capped if they get bounced this round and he's at 3.
What about next round?
Then yes. If they get bounced next round, maybe not. Because it's going to take what I am saying, because I saw all the folks, the moment they lose a game 2, they're like, oh, all the Jokic haters are going to be back out. Guys, I don't think there are actually Jokic haters anymore. There's not a person out there that's like, guy's not good. Guy's overrated. No one's saying that. There are folks, I am one of them, that just want to know, has he somehow evolved to a level of greatness greater than every other player ever, where they are immune to criticism?
How's he immune to criticism, though?
Because what I'm saying,
I just don't understand that.
I think that every other guy in his neighborhood, if they found themselves as the overwhelming favorites against a young team that's done nothing in a series, and they lose their first game, and then they're facing a must-win where that team is not at full strength, and you look lethargic, disengaged, and now your season's on the brink, it would have been wall-to-wall coverage these last 3 days. And with Joker, it's like it's a sign of basketball ignorance. If you're like, I think he should be better. I think he should have played better. Yeah. And I think that maybe we elevated him past the Giannis Durant tier of all-time players a little prematurely. That's all I'm saying. I think that's fair.
How much did Durant get killed when they got swept in Brooklyn against the Celtics?
I mean, a lot.
A lot.
Really?
When he went to Boston and got gobbled up,
yes,
it was like
killed.
Durant can't do anything. Durant might be washed adjacent. That was the narrative.
I just don't see. I feel now you agree with Nick. But I feel like LeBron certainly has been far more criticized. He's the most criticized athlete ever as far as that. But I don't think I think you're comparing him to LeBron. I don't think Giannis has been killed for their terrible play since they won the championship.
Hold on.
Last year when he ran from the ball at the end of the game, did he get
killed for that? I don't think
he got killed for his quote about there's no failure in sports.
I think that the year after, when they lost in round 1, when they lost the year defending championship, he didn't get killed because he had, I think, 46 points in that game 6 was awesome. Tatum just had the game of his life. And then game 7, Celtics hit like 33s and people didn't kill him for it. Last year, he absolutely, Brew, we talked on this show about how he's not a closer, how you don't trust him in those spots.
Because of that. He's never been a closer.
But Giannis got criticized to the point that he needed to bring in Dame Lillard. Yeah. They had to remake the team because of his deficiencies.
They were afraid of Giannis leaving Milwaukee.
I just think he'd spend this entire time, and to Wildes' point, when we were talking last year before he'd won a championship, when up until a month to go in the season, it was real discussion that he was going to win his 3rd straight MVP before he'd been to an NBA Finals, and people were fine with it. Seems like this specific player, Jokic that is, has been held to a different standard than all the other guys. Because Giannis couldn't sniff that 3rd straight MVP because he didn't have the playoff success yet.
11 turnovers the last 2 games, I'm just saying.
You're big on the turn.
Yeah, well, 18 the last 3.
Come on. Yeah. I don't count with Lakers.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.